Valdik. You got the copies?
Yes, everybody has the paper.
Okay, fine. Very good. Okay. We're renting a house from some Amish people. So we just finished making a bonfire outside, and I got one of the yodels over here to give me some of his wood, some of the bissel geschmues. So it's funny, these chevres are sehr frum. So I said, we last time we went to visit some of the yodels in Pennsylvania. So they say, the guys in Pennsylvania sind bachal nicht frum. Sie sind goyim and ganzen goyim.
You got my cousin like not a host in a wagon.
Because he says, I'll tell you, Araya, the guys in Pennsylvania, they secretly have a phone in the house. So I was saying to myself, like sometimes, malacht up the avodas Hashem for nachayid. Nishtav was lachen. You know what I mean? Now I'm laughing at him because of what, you know what I mean? If I would have heard from him, the guys in Pennsylvania are great guys. Nishtav zoifrum. But they'll get there one day. It's a bislach, it's a bislach. Like how do we, when we think about avodas Hashem of another yid, how do we see it? We see it that the Yefutzah and Asecha Chutzah, that we have to make sure that every yid should be time from the Torah Baal Shem Tov, because time Ruki Tov Hashem, Sezis, Gishmak, good, and Tzabisla, but this we're laughing. I'm laughing at this. Was sagst du mir, der Chaver in Pennsylvania seinen Goyim geboren? So anyway, it's a lesson of this Hashem. It's a moedike maimah. And I can't wait. Wait till Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanna, Shechol is b'Shabbos. To be honest, if tonight we should learn Gemara, I probably don't have a Gemara here with me. And this whole Shabbos, I'm koching in this Maimer. And B'chlal, every Yom Tov, Misha Torech Be'erev Shabbos, Yechol b'Shabbos. How do you go into Shabbos to Yom Tov without learning first a little bit about the Yom Tov? You fall into Rosh Hashanah, yeah? You light the candles and you fall into Shul. This year is Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanna, Shechol is b'Shabbos. It's 2 weeks before Rosh Hashanna. So I think it's a great thing to get into the Inyan of Rosh Hashanah through learning this Maimer. Thank you very much for making the copies. Okay. But let's learn a few lines and then we'll talk about this. Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanna, Shechol is b'Shabbos, Medina. Diuk Rabbi Sen Mesen but the Torah bedrusha at Moram so besida bedrusha samach tzedek bedrusha Rabbi Sen Mesen mal makom achrem b'mishna zu the tzarech lahav nari mitzvah shofer shebetchilas Hashanah mitzvah serama v'nisa. I want to stop now for a second. It's beautiful, and soon you'll notice how the difference when we learn the Maimed, if we learn it in the Torah, the Alter Rebbe says mitzvah shofer is a mitzvah rama v'nisa. Rabbi said maybe you're going to be a Shane Buck. It's going to learn how to blow shofar. And grab a shofar, and he's going to take it to the Bucky, and I'll ask him to teach him how to blow the shofar. So, fragt the Alter Rebbe, mitzvah ram of the Nisa kazu, because of Hedyet and Kalei Das, there'll be such a mitzvah. How could Shul Chacham have the right to say Shev al Tasa, sit in the home and don't do the mitzvah? But how the Shayat the Chachamim should be mevatel such an unbelievable mitzvah because of Hedyet v'Kalei Das? You'll soon notice how the Rebbe asks a question. It's like a little interesting. First of all, the Rebbe doesn't say Hedyet v'Kalei Das, as we'll see in a second. The other one is the Rebbe emphasizes also why is it a mitzvah Rama v'Nisa? It's like the Fedish Gemara. The Rebbe is going to go through saying the Gemara says that the Eibishter says Imra lefani malchis kedeshet tamlichuni aleichem. I want you to say for me the psukim of Malchus, Chernis, and Shofars, and how are you going to make me a king? Through blowing shofar. So the Gemara itself, Chazal tell us that this is a mitzvah, not a regular mitzvah. It's a mitzvah, Rama v'Nisa. So how could you push away such a mitzvah? What's the Nekudah, the Mamish in a nutshell? The answer of the Alter Rebbe is that Shabbos, the Kugel, does the job. Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol is b'Shabbos, the Kugel does the job. As I'm saying it a shtickle with a joke and a shtickle like We know that by Talmidei Baal Shem Tov, the kugel on Shabbos was a very beginning. I have no idea why. It's Inyan Ruchni, but that's the way it is. The Inyan of kugel was symbolizes the idea of Shabbos. The goyim. It's interesting. Goyim don't have a word for kugel. What's kugel? Potato pudding. Okay, guys, I got goy. Potato pudding. Potato pudding. There's the Yeshma Lodum. Why so much by the Tzaddik Elyon? The kugel is so. But anyway, bottom line is the Alter Rebbe said that the whole Inyan of Shofar is to accomplish something. Shabbos will accomplish the same thing. Why did Chazal say you still have to say psukim shofars? Chazal say that with the shofar you should say psukim. 10 psukim of Malchus, 10 Zechronis, 10 of shofars. If the Shabbos already does, like the Alter Rebbe says, it's not some a technical thing that maybe that someone is going to be a hedyot and he's going to take the shofar Rosh Hashanah and carry it to Shabbos. Shabbos does the kugel of Shabbos takes the place of the shofar. So why can't you have an extra kugel and that'll take the place of the 10 psukim of shofars? Why did Chazal still convey that even a Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol b'Shabbos you should say the psukim? So here is the Nekuda of the Maimer, and then the Nekuda of the Maimer it's so geschmack because it goes through again every year when it's this krius. If you learn the Maimer again, but this year we're going to focus on this Maimer, which is a new knech, a new wrinkle to the whole thing. So the Rebbe says, why taka we sang the psukim of shofars? And the Nekuda of the beard is just a beautiful thing like this. The Alter Rebbe says that in the Beis HaMikdash they were tekeya also in Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol b'Shabbos. It's verstandig. Why? Because over there the kohenim has risen, and we're not scared that the kohenim are going to carry the shofar on the Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol b'Shabbos. But Atichsid is that Shabbos already accomplishes the Inyan, and we don't need to have shofar. So why in the Beis HaMikdash should they blow shofar? What's the answer? The Alter Rebbe answers, what's the pshat? The idea of shofar is, what's the word shofar? Shofar is melosh shapru maseich hanois nimrei shofar. The Gemara says shufra the shufra, the most pleasurable, the best of the best, the tainug shebetainug. The Baal Shem Tov says, and this is brought in the Alter Rebbe, the kavonas of the Tkiyah shofar, that the Rabbeim said that every Baal Tekeiah must learn before Rosh Hashanah and review it before he blows the shofar. The Baal Shem Tov said it's a mashal for what it means to blow a shofar. The Baal Shem Tov says a person goes into a project and he gets into it and he's like all involved. He's thinking about it and he's coming up with brilliant ideas and he's thinking about it by night and by day and he's very active. What happens when the person loses total interest in the project? You can't get him to do anything. It's not the pshat. You can't get him to do the whole job, but you can get him to do half the job. You can get him to do a quarter. He loses interest in the project. You can't get him to do a single thing. The deepest thing in a human being, the deepest koyach, is the koyach of tainu, oineg. And that's what motivates everything. And the made that we should be able to understand them by making a human being a Dam Elyon. The same thing is Lamaila, that the highest level in Ruchnis is Oinik. So during the year, when the Yidden do their Avodas Hashem, Eibishter has unbelievable pleasure at Avodas Hashem of Yidden. But in Rosh Hashanah, that's not good enough. If a person does a job, at the end of the day, job well done. Okay, you feel good, and you go home, and tomorrow you do again a good job. But one day you chap azach in kop. Why am I in this business? This is not for me. Now your boss is going to come and tell you, Reuven, you did an unbelievable job yesterday. Without you, I can't run the company. Okay, gay tans and yam. So close the company. I don't care. I'm not interested anymore. What are you telling me? If it's only a shaila from day to day to tell me a compliment that I'm instrumental in the company, it's gewaldig. But now that I lost interest, to give me such a little compliment, it's garnished health. And during the year, the Eibush is Messianic from the Avodas Hashem of Bnei Yisrael. So that's good enough. But on Rosh Hashanah, with everything goes back Lakad Musoi, and now we're trying to convince the Eibush that he should be Melech and the whole Oilamus. So why? Why? So we have to moira the Tainuk that Eibush has in avoid of Yid. It has to go into the deepest level of Tainuk. That's the Indian of Shofar. Shofar is Malosh Shapru Maseicha. It in order, the Rebbe says this Maimer, it's the opposite of what the Rishonim say. The Torah says that the blowing shofar is because the pasuk says that you talk a shofar beir v'om lo yachrod. That shofar makes a charod. The Rebbe says it's not a kasha b'chlal. They go very well. When a person is in such a deep level of tainug, it can also be with an eifin of charod. Like by the Yidden Mountain Torah. They were very excited to see Ponim the Eibishter. On the other hand, there was a Kol Shofar, which symbolized unbelievable Charod. So Agav Urcha, we see from this Maimer, the Chazal say that the Shofar was that Kula Alma Moidid b'Shabbos Nitna Torah. Yet that there was the Eibishter Blue Shofar, which is an interesting thing. Even though it's Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol is b'Shabbos. Obviously, some say it's a silly question. This came before the Gzeira of Rabbo. But it's not true, as you'll see in a minute from what we're learning in the Maimer. So what's the Nakuda the answer? Nakuda the answer is that when it came to the Beis HaMikdash, it wasn't like a regular Avodas Hashem. In Tainug itself, there's many levels. If a person has Oinig, there's many levels of Oinig. When you touch a person's oinig, the deepest chord in the nefesh oinig, to say all oinig is the same. He had a good bottle of beer and he married off his daughter. This is oinig. This is the oinig. I'm sorry, I'm giving a silly dogma. I'm giving an example. A person that likes a good bottle of beer, a cold bottle of beer. Oh, it's very good. A person who's waiting already 5 years to marry off his daughter. How can you compare this oinig to this oinig? There's different dargas in oinig. The darga of oinig that the Yidden are mamshich through blowing shofar is the same thing like Harasal Shabbos oinig. Oinig, Shabbos, Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol is b'Shabbos. Whatever you could have done through the shofar, Shabbos will accomplish the same hamshach as a oinig from the Eibush. However, in the Beis HaMikdash, that they're mamshich a much deeper oinig, the Shabbos will not substitute for the oinig that comes through shofar. The Rebbe says that the same thing when it comes to Amidat Sukkah Shofars. Amidat Sukkah Shofars you could read in many reasons. Why did Chazal say, the Torah said, there's a mitzvah to blow a shofar. Chazal will moisef 10 psukim of Malchis, 10 Zechronos, 10 of shofars. But the Gemara says b'meh b'shofar. It sounds like b'meh. How does the Eibush become a melech? Through blowing shofar. So why are we saying the psukim of shofars? So a simple way of reading it is bring a raya. Kamosha Neman, like read the Agoda. Kamosha Neman. We bring a raya. But the emes is that shver to say that the whole takona of saying these 30 psukim and the long musaf for Rosh Hashanah is just to bring a raya. The emes is a leitzach. It makes sense to say that the psukim are a chelik of the hamshach. We're being mamshach the Eibish's oinig also through saying the psukim and Torah. So the Rebbe, what's the difference between mitzvahs and Torah? In general, in Chassidus it says a mitzvah is the Eibish's rotz. That's all 613 mitzvahs in a way have the same nekuda. The Eibish's rotz, nashikadashana v'mitzvahs. The Eibish's rotz. Torah is deeper. Torah is the Eibish's oinig. So therefore, even though that when it comes to the mitzvah of shofar, we say Shabbos, the kugel Shabbos will substitute for the tkiyah shofar. But the kugel Shabbos cannot substitute for the 10 psukim of shofar. Because the 10 psukim of shofar is a mamshech, they bring down a much deeper tainug than the shofar itself. Obviously, you have to start with the mitzvah of shofar. But after the mitzvah shofar, when the Yidden were mamshech, the regular darg of oinig that comes through this mitzvah, and with the koyach of the mitzvah, they go on to do takonas chazal. which are even malai divrei sefer miyoyim miyena shel Torah, that the Eibush says that the divrei chachamim are deeper even. So after you did the mitzvah of shofar, the tainu be'elyon, you go and say 30 psukim, 10 malchus, 10 zecharim, and shofars, and that brings down an unbelievable supreme oinig, a bigger oinig than the mitzvah of shofar. And when it comes Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol is b'Shabbos, so Shabbos could substitute for the shofar, but Shabbos could never substitute for the psukkah shofars. It can't. We still have to say the psukkah shofars. That's the answer to the shaila. Why, although Chazal said that you shouldn't blow shofar, and Chassidus is saying that it's not stam, you know what, Shev al Tasa. Yesh koyach b'yad chachamim, laka dover min ha'toyre b'shev al Tasa. Just sit, don't do it. Shabbos does the job of the shofar. Great. But the Shabbos does not do the job of the Amidas Psukkah shofars. It doesn't. And the Yid still has to say the Psukkah shofars. Okay. This is the Nakuda, the Maimer in the Nakuda. And now let's read it inside. We're 4 lines from the top. Tzarich lahavi, that a mitzvah shofar shebetchilas Hashanah, mitzvah zerabah ben Isah. The mitzvah shofar is an unbelievable mitzvah. Shal yoda nasa in the tamlichuni aleich. This makes the Eibush Melech. Maimer Azal the Gemara says, Omer HaKadosh Baruch Hu Yimru Lefon Malchus Kadesh tamlichuni aleich. Zechroinus v'chulu v'chulu b'ma b'shofar. Eine Leute kann mir die Psuke shofar is a lot. Gam v'adara b'yikaru kiyum mitzvahs kiyah shofar. It sounds from the Gemara that b'ma b'shofar doesn't mean they're going to make a melech, the Eibush Melech, through reading the Psuke shofar, but through blowing shofar. Frata mit mir apie me vor be Kabbalah shos khayzen von gerne mal kadmus und was gesehen ist im Shechol voll abrie me khodesh wenn ihr sagen be pashtus ab in nigla Shel Rosh Hashanna mit zayem tchilas masach und she bechol rosh nas ma khodesh is habs kol sede shtat shos kirche mal abraham so ich lesen im malchus berotzen kibla lahem even the pashtus ab in nigla every Rosh Hashanna everything starts all over and we need to have malchus berotzen even after makabel the Moving that Kabbalah, this is explored in much deeper levels, but this is L'chayre goes very well with Pshat of the mitzvah. Sheideit kiyas shofar pelas in tamlichona aleichem. Seivazoy. In the one hand, the mitzvah of shofar is not a regular mitzvah; it's a mitzvah rama ben Isah. In other words, for me and you to say that a certain mitzvah is a mitzvah rama ben Isah, that would be like a chutzpah. Who are me and you to decide that this mitzvah, every mitzvah is a mitzvah? But when the Gemara says, Chazal have the koyach to tell us that this mitzvah is a unique mitzvah. Mit der mitzvah machma the Eibush Melech. Afal pichein, even though Chazal tells us that this is a unique mitzvah. Tzad achshash, l'gzeire der Rabban. Shechshash the eine shayach klalel zum bnei Yisrael b'yoysim b'mayim v'amatzim v'roy she'ozem b'derayges tzadikim v'avach kulim tzadikim. So still because of the gzeire der Rabban, how could it be? You notice the Rebbe doesn't say this line that how could Hedyet v'kalei das. The Rebbe was just saying Chshas is only shayich by Yidden, but Yidden are usually in the Maimon HaMatzah where they're supposed to be of tzaddikim, and then there isn't the Chshash. So that's the question. Well, how could we mevatel such a special mitzvah when it's almost irrelevant? Yidden are usually in the dark of tzaddikim. Mezem moving to before by drushim shenyanef b'shvilam yesh tzera b'tki yeshefet shirosh anachol is yimei shavua hine b'yom haShabbos nasim yanamel ma'atzim atzad yanef shem haShabbos mishkat shevekayim shaloi begum b'Rosh Hashanna v'alderech zeh shor v'rigolim she'Yisrael em mekadshim es zmanim al Yom Tov the who's mekadosh. The Bezdin is Mekadosh. Shabbos is Mekadosh Shevekayim. So when Rosh Hashanah is in Shabbos, so Shabbos alone does the job of Shofar. Sheyesh, turn the page, Yesh B'inyan Shalul Zay Tzarem the Shofar. Kishan Asadaf Ke Polos B'nei Yisrael Bekim Ke Mitzvah Shofar. Shabbos itself does the job of Shofar. We'll explain in a minute. Chalpizeh Tzarech Lovna Joyce Amidas Psuke Shofars. I feel Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol is b'Shabbos. After Mishal Achayr nifrelu kvar in Yonah the Tkei Shefer the Shabbos. Bishleim elechlolos in Amidas Apsuke Torah, you do Adam Kemosh, Bachol Yan Olam Aleim Nemer HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Istakle B'Raysh Bora Alma, Fish, Matzina Chol Yan Torah Shebel Peh Shalokem, Izil Lor, Izil Bereis, Alacht Kam Vakam in Yan Olam. Chazal say that Ebershter is a Stakle Bereis Bora Alma. He looked at the Torah and created the world. And Chazal also say that the same thing by Yid. Alacht Kam Vakam Yan Shem Yisrael Kurim Adam Shem Adam Shem Eifen Shem Barnash Stakle Bereis Mekayim Alma. Which is again a Maimah Chazal, but Yid looks in Torah, he's Mekayim the world. So so when you read the Psukim, it's a Raya in a Torah for the idea of Shofar. We got this in his Koyach, Shachim Kach. Havo, Mekayim, Mekayim Asapula, Mekayim Yisrael, when we read Psukim, why do we say the Psukim? Gam Ksheyesh Din Tkiyah Shofar B'Poel. They love it Raya, Lifnese, or Yishur, Achar. So the simple pshat of saying the psukim is to bring a raya or to strengthen the mitzvah afterwards. Al yidei tesa brachas through the 9 special brachas the Chazal made. Malchus zechrenes v'shofres. Shebenem yasgam psukim shofres. Noisel psukim malchus zechrenes. Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanna b'Shabbos. Sho kiddush shazen nasa inyan the shofres. It's ad Shabbos. Why do we have to say Psuke Shofres? Why didn't you Dorish Biush ain't saying and Shalim with Psukim to Moshe Sparsha B'Dorish Maprekim Amiris Psukim? Avad the Diuk Kaloshin Imru the Fani Malchis. And a Shalom Negea Khan Limud of Psukim and Pirusha B'Dorish Maprekim Minyan Amiri Bravad. Amiris the Nikr B'Shem Brach. Shani Amiris Psukim Mehi B'Brach the Malchis Chenes B'Shech Shanyan Brach B'Shech. What's the diuk the Rebbe is asking, what's the diuk in Imru Lefonai? It's mashma from the Lashon Chazal that it's not important to learn the pshat in the psukim. It's not that Chazal wants that you should read the psukim with a special pshat. Kilu, the amira psukim is good enough. If you want to in Torah, the whole idea of Torah is to understand Torah. So what would be so bad if a person opened up the Meforshim and learned up the 30 psukim with the Metzudas David and the Metzudas Shin and the Radak and the Ralbag, Rashi? I mean, it doesn't sound that way. Chazal say the emphasis is Imru Lefonai. It's Amiras HaPsukim, not Limud HaPsukim. Why? In Yabazed, in Yonah Shel Shofar, Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanna Shechol b'Shabbos Pearl, Zoysignia Shabbos Ukishmoy Al Shem Shaper Masech. The word Shofar means Shaper. Hainu Shamaisim Yu Loidak Maisim Tov Mel B'Ofer Shel Shapru Shekosh V'Nim Maloshem Ateichen V'Inyan Shel Shofar V'Inyan Shel Yofi V'Tainu Maloshem Shufra D'Shufra Shebegemara Al Der Azav Torah Shebeksav Hanois Imri Shofar. So we see sign Torah Shebeksav, sign Torah Shebal Peh, that shofar means time of pleasure. When you bezek mavor baruch beside badrush lahav in yitki shofar api kavana sabah shem tzachrein ale bracha shetzarech lias chidush yisavas abriya beifer shemalach toy loitia beirifyin yadayim. The bachol atoy k'tzavim ashleim esaydei amshachas apayne bachol anyonim shebsav v'chaim miskayim. But shetzarech lahamshich memokar atanum shezayinim bachol kol shel ha-shofar shemishaper is kol anyon. Deze shemamshich tainik bachol anyonim shalamatim men. Ilu atzma memokar atanum. ולכן צריך להוריד התיינים ממקוירי די שואל שכלושו בעצם סכילים שכל עניונים חייזם לעצמוסם שם צריך להמשיך את כל הגילום הרי מובן שמשוכת צריך ליסם עצמוסם הוז וגם המשוכת התיין הגוף הרי זה פנימיס בעצם התיין. As I said before, and that's why I'm giving a little introduction, I mean it's like sounds like it's a heilige Welt. There are heilige Welt. Welt in the mind is an heilig. But what's the, as I said before, there's two types of satisfaction. When a person is running a business, so he could be the CEO of the company, there's one satisfaction, day-to-day operations. And then there is another satisfaction, which is that this is my vision. This is my inyan. So day-to-day, if operations are going good and I feel satisfaction, that's good. And that motivates me to go from day to day. But when I have to rethink the whole thing, the contract is up. The shaila is, should I continue with the company or not? Day-to-day operations will not motivate. There has to be a deep tainug, a deep motivation that this is an Indian that connects with me. So we want the Eibishter should be melech from day to day, the regular avodas Hashem of Kabbalah Shel Rosh Hashanna. That's good enough. But on Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanna, it requires a deep Kabbalah Shel Rosh Hashanna. That's ma'oyer l'mayla the tainug. Oh, that the Yiddelach mekabel me for melech, and they want me, and the mekabel oil malchus berotzen. So that's an unbelievable thing. So the whole idea of shofar is to be ma'oyer l'mayla the tainug of the Eibishter and the avodas Hashem of the Yid. וזהו, גם בעניין השפר שמצינו במתן תורה, שעושה ניתן כל המצוות, כל המצוות תקיע שפר, כמשקוסה ובחודש הם קראו לכם. כמשקוסה והיא כל השפר, אלא חזק מאוד כפור בדרוש וצריך לאהוב ומה היה כל שפר במתן תורה. מה ההכרח שמתן תורה צריך לזכור מן השפר? Why is it that the Torah emphasizes so much that there was a kol shofar when they got the Torah? גם צריך לומר קשר כל שופר עם תיינוק. אדרבה שופר מוער עניין שחרוד כשקוסת. אם יתוק השופר בהיר והום לא יחרודו, which is a rhetorical question. In other words, if there will be shofar, there will be a charod. Chayr is a hate in a tainuk. Achabir bezed the hoba hot talya the kibbutz shinyan shofar olam shtainuk b'chol yinem mokem. Lefi shezel lefi shofar atzum moker atanugim batche lefi shtainuk b'makoid b'shor shoyu batzmus v'lachein lo shayach shekol hashofar yumshach v'yizgal ha'etzel hashemei b'oifen shel tainuk. Because it's the mocker of tainuk. So when it comes down in a way of charod. Even Shekolas call it Turungin fishing plulim b'mekayim b'sharsham. L'chein ein ba'inyan hatainuk b'ofen shel hergis. Elazo eitzel k'moshe mishamei roya davar nifla b'yoytz shekolim in acharoda. Sometimes you see something which is awesome. Noida hoyd. So it's a wow. At the moment you don't feel so much the hergish hatainuk. So maybe you feel the awesomeness, or maybe even fright of an awesome sight. You're going with a helicopter over the Grand Canyon. I'm not sure it's a very good idea. I'm just saying a marshal. And it's noida hoy. Wow, see the bria of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's good. And it's full of glory. When you're in the helicopter, a little bit you're nervous. So there's a cherod. You come off the helicopter, you have a couple of nice pictures on your phone. Oh, then you're mis'ane. So maybe it's a silly example, but I just want to bring out to such a thing that b'shas ma'isa there can be a charod, but later when you take apart the experience, you feel an intense tainu, like the Friedrich Rebbe says about hakofis. But why is it called hakofis? Because you're taking koyach and the whole kodesh tishrei b'hakof. The Rebbeinu Shalom is giving us on credit an unbelievable amount of koyach. During the year, we're going to unwrap it and take it apart. So sometimes you have an experience which is full of charada. When you take it apart, you see the oinig in it. So the kol shofar is the mokara tanugim. So it's right now, it's more charada. Really, it's connected to the union of tainu. Turn the page, Matan Torah. Kinyon shel Torah hu tainu, k'mashakosov ani Torah oscha sha'ashuti, ukidei shemshech tainu sha'ashuti b'Torah is tzarich lias b'bchinas moker atanug k'mashofer shom moker atanug shom nemshech lias tarach sha'ashuti shunyan atainu k'mashakoshem atanug. Give us a good lima maybe the message gam tainu shakoshem mitzvahs. Why was there so much of shofar b'shas Matan Torah? Why was there shofar b'shas Matan Torah? Because Torah is the union of tainu. And shofar is also mamshech, the union of tainu. Vinyan bazeh dineksiv state. Let's talk about the Torah. Megillah sefer tzuv ponim v'och. Do magor the koyal Megillah the Torah sheyesh boinyan the ponim v'och. Shechol sinyan rotz ocher v'tainu ponim. When a person has the rotzen, that's only the och. Tainug is the deepest chord in the human being. In the neshama of a person, you see it in a person's face if a person's enjoying himself. יש מניין Schalkus, wat is Schalkus Rabbe bei Yoiser, läuft gesagt, שגם שחצתני בכך פנימי, שחלו בין הדוים שתחילה נמשכתני כשבחוכמה, wat uiteindelijk שבסייה בפעולה מה איסיס ודס, אבל מה שסחלקוס, uiteindelijk אין צוי, שבכל אחד מניין מגודל מסכת ורבא מסכת, צריך uiteindelijk משנקין עניין רוצן, בשווה בכל עניון. When a person wants something, so sometimes it could be a little prat and a big thing, it's the same thing. That's what I said, that's what I want. But in Tainug, there's many levels of Tainug. וכפי שרואים בנוסח ברכס המצווה שהוא נוסח שווה. כפי שכל המצווה הם רצונו של הקדוש ברוך הוא. בגלל זה צריך לקיים. יש גם עניין המשך התענוג ידי מצווה, שהוא עניין יחס רוחי בפונה שאמרתי בנס הרצוני, אבל בשהמצווה בכלול עניין הרוצן, בתור בכלול עניין התענוג, הנה בפרוטס, הנה גם בתור יש עניין הרוצן של הקדוש ברוך הוא, וגם במצווה יש עניין התענוג, נכנס לו לפונה, שזה עניין התענוג שמסגר בכל מצווה כעניון. In Torah, both have both. In Torah, the Eibishter has a Rotz in Torah, and there is a Tainug in the mitzvahs that the Yidden do. But Bechlolus more, Torah is associated to Tainug. Torah Chashashuti, that the Eibishter is Aniya Yisi, that the Torah was Mishtasheh, the Eibishter is Mishtasheh with the Torah. Torah is the Shashuyim, the fun of Shashuyim. The Eibishter's Tainug is Torah. Mitzvahs, the Eibishter's Rotz. So, גם הקשר בין עניין השבס לעניין השויפר. שביום טוב של ראש השחול בשבס נמשך על ידי השבס, או עניין שנמשך על ידי השויפר. בשורשם של ראש השחול בשבס. We said that the Midrash of Hashem said that the kugel in Shabbos, Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanna b'Shabbos, the kugel takes the place of the shoifer. Kivi shegam Shabbos k'may shoifer in Yoni Tainu. What's Shabbos? Shabbos is Tainuk. Mishkosu v'korosel Shabbos Einig. V'ad shenimshach gam b'mitzvah Shabbos, b'mitzvah la'angul. M'kom mokim yesh chiluk b'nei. Shein edayim ha'Tainuk shenimshach adei Shefer, Tainuk shenimshach adei Shabbos. Yesh chilukim shein edayim ha'Tainuk shenimshach adei Torah, Tainuk shenimshach adei Shabbos. Chiluk shenimshach adei Tainuk adei mitzvahs. V'inyan hu, dinyan klos, dinyan Torah mitzvah, masha'Allah, v'ritzayna shebrisuris l'tata tiyesirus l'eila. V'adara v'kdei l'avtiach, shelichas v'shalom na'amid achsuf, v'toivim v'noisim koyach v'payla m'shleim v'sinyan. This is what the limit Torah became a mitzvah. The Eibishter wanted that it shouldn't be a free lunch. No one enjoys a free lunch. The Eibishter wanted that Amshachas Alakus that we get should be through avodah, through limud Torah became a mitzvah. Say the Adam Atam Hashem Adam El Elyon Kolach Ve'Echad Yisrael Lefi Yonim. There's Nimshach Yisrael Al Derez Agami Mitzvah Shofar Shedet Ki Shofar Nasid Ki Shofar L'Mayla. When we blow shofar, the Eibishter blows shofar, which is Mamshech Tainug, Shenkin, in a Shabbos, Kimish Yisrael, Shabbos, Mikatcha V'Kaim, and Nasa Kol Inyonim and Tzad L'Mayla, Kol Gam Inyan, a Tainug, Visha Kosher, and Tainug, the Shabbos, that we don't have to be Mamshech the Tainug, the Eibishter's Mamshech, Kimish Yizom, and Tzah, Hubay Fishem, Shachem L'Mayla, Shunadas, Yisrael, Latata, Nimsa, Sheidem, Shachas, Polis, Shabbos, Nas Indian Shalubas and Nas Hoytzech with Yeshefa, but for Nile years. Yes, it says to be SAs. Faked Shabbos and Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Cholish Shabbos. Shabbos is more than the shofar. Had you blown the shofar, you'd be mamshech less. Shabbos does more. Afal Pichem, the Mikdash Hayatoikim Gam Shabbos. Ki Gam, then Yeshurusla Tata, Yeshurusla, Ishkamadargis. Shebeshul yesh tzorech shesutata tibayfish tagia bedagenalis es misirus leila lamayla fil metanik shkabei Shabbos tzedin the Shabbos mkatshvek kaim vinyan ze yoch lisrag beis avik sholom never ze shara shamoyim shu bukhu vinyan beis avik sholom ayla shamay khirem lagel makar besherish taining lamayla gam taining shnu shkabei Shabbos beis mkatshvek kaim in the beis hamikdash you were able to mamshech tainu a much higher darget time. A much higher dargen tank. Okay, we base mikdash. How you talking about the Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanna b'Shabbos v'shenkim b'Medina Shisham and Indian the Zeh Shel and Pulos Adam Agas the Magma Pulos Shanasa the Shabbos Shemakachu V'Kaima. Adar B'Medina Shabbos Poel says like the Nile Yois. Okay, no Geya also in the Kiyah Shefer Nagel Mikdash Zeh Shel Shamayim. Gam b'Medina Shein talking b'Yom Tov Shel Rosh Hashanna b'Shabbos. Kiva Shinyonim should Kiyah Shefer Nasa Medei Shabbos Shemakachu V'Kaima. Kinegam, oh, Zayim, Sukkah Shofar is betoide. Neus aber al Amiris, Suki Malchus is kleines. In Bazar, in is Bar Lil Shechol in Yonim Sarich is schon im in Yana Toir. Ging כשצריך להתייעץ עם ישראל אינטרנכון עליך ויאללה זה חנך מפונה בבן בשפט תחליס גם אין דאימרו לפונה מיד פסוק תויר דמלך זה חנך בשפט שזהו ראי מהתויר שפעלס גם אסה יסבס וחייס וקים היינו פישת תויר עניין התיינק תוירוס חששותי שזהו התיינק שקושר עם התויר שהתיינק זה עיני ליוסם התיינק שבכל המצס אפילו יוסם מהתיינק שבשבת שמקד שבקיים ולכן גם כשיש שם ראש העניין כשפר צריך גם אמיר את פסוקת תויר הם פסוקת הילם שם לפנת כבשב הם פסוקת שפר שם לאחת כשפר כמו שידי זה פועל בעיני ליוסם ושזהו גם כמה אמיר את פסוקת שפר שראש השנה שחליז בשבת כי גם לאחר שניפל העניין דת כשפר מצד העניין לשבת מקד שבקיים הרי הנה עדי אמיר פסוקת תויר פועל כלאחר ואחר מבני ישראל, בכל בני ישראל, ינאי ליוסר, למעלה פיתלין השופר, כשנישל עדי, שבת שמקד שבקיים, משרוין ינאי ליוסר, והשניפל עדי תקיע שופר. That the Shabbos will substitute for the shofar. Shabbos will bring more tainu than the shofar. But Shabbos cannot substitute for Torah. Because Torah is a much deeper union of tainu. Torah is a much deeper union of tainu. We spoke about this many times. Limud Torah has to be with a moedik tainu. Limud Torah has to be with a moedik tainu. So this is emphasis. Now this year with Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol b'Shabbos is an emphasis on the gewalt of the Tainug Shebetoira. And even though Shabbos could substitute for Shofar, but it can't substitute for Torah. Torah is mamshach gora tifa dargen oinig. The time is short. Maybe Shabbos I'll talk about this. I want to mention it's in the Shiva of the Ptira of Rosh Hashiva of Yeshivas Chaim Berlin. He had a moedik chayes, a moedik gishmak in the Torah. Many times, so he would ask me, what was your chidush? What's the mechadush given? And he was very sharp, and his greatest pleasure is to upschlag. But moedik chayes the Torah. So we see an unbelievable thing, emphasis in the Yom Tov Shel Rosh and Shechol b'Shabbos, that Shabbos could substitute the mitzvah of Kiyuv Shofar. It cannot substitute the Amid of Psukkah Shofar, because Amid of Psukkah Shofar is the Mamshech a deeper oinig, and which is Teiros Chashashut. I'm not going to read the rest inside. It's just a little nekuda, which is that Chabad, the Rabbeim had a big emphasis, the 48 hours of Rosh Hashanah to read Tehillim. What's the Indian to read Tehillim? Why was it so the emphasis to say Tehillim? So the Rebbe says because that's mamsh, because a Toisvis, one guy can understand the Toisvis better and one person understands less. But the Kedusha that's in the Oisi Shabbat, all the Yidden are B'Shavins. And therefore, when it comes to Rosh Hashanah, we need to have a deep level of Kabbalah Zal Malchus Shemayim. That doesn't come from learning Atoisvis. That comes from saying Amidus Psuki Torah and Mefrat through saying Tehillim. And that's the pshat. The Chazal say Imru Lefonei Malchis, not Limdu Lefonei Malchis. Imru means the Amid itself, the Kedusha of saying the Oisif Shabbat Torah has an unbelievable koyach. David shall helfen that the mitzvah this year, which are bringing in the year through Shabbos, which is Mekatshe B'Shkaim, the first day of Rosh Hashanah is Shabbos Kodesh, that this year should be a Shabbos Dike year, and it should be a year full of Tainu, and should be Zoichetake through Uzbet and Allah Zachin Rosh Hashanah for us and for Klal Yisrael, like Fiva V'Chsemat Toiva, Ashana Toiva M'Sukkah, and it should be a year of Shabbos, Yom Shekule Shabbos, Amenucha L'chai Elomim, V'vis Mashiach Tzidkenu.
Amen. Amen. Shkoyach.
Okay, good.
You hear us?
Yeah.
On Pesach, you have to eat matzah if you come out on Shabbos. We're going to say Shabbos is so holy, and we're going to worry somebody going to carry the dough to show the guy how to make a matzah. You don't say it. Shabbos is so holy.
Okay, it's a good shaila. The emphasis, it's nicht gelechte because the Chazal were a little bit different about the Gzeira, Lagabi Shoifer and Lulav. V'oid Chazayin Lamoyed. We'll Mitzvah Shem continue about this. Okay, Grace Yashikayach, everyone for joining us.
We'll see you tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem.
Yes, no. I'm tomorrow. It could be by the time I'll come, I'll be late. But if tomorrow I'm not going to be there, the Zalma Zusha Zayins told me that he can give the shir tomorrow. So if I see in the morning, by the time I'm near Cleveland. I'm in no man's land in the middle of a forest. But Bisma Krich Tarois with the Kinder, if I see that we're leaving late, then I'll ask Zalma Zusha to give the shir tomorrow.
Fine. Enjoy.
Good to have.
Every